Hi, it's Pastor Paul L. Anderson here at the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, where we believe God's blessings never stop flowing. It is Satisfaction Saturday. We have the satisfaction of knowing how God looks over us, how God watches out for us, and how God gives us care. Even in the midst of all the things that we've seen, I tell you, last night in Raleigh, we had some serious storms, in so much that was flooding. But we know God is able to keep us. He is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all we're able to ask, say, or think, according to his mighty work and hand in our lives. Today, I want to ask that you look with me into Luke's Gospel, the 8th chapter, verses 4 through 10. A very powerful passage. It's a passage that Jesus tells a parable, and the parable is of a farmer who's scattering seeds. The parable of the farmer scattering seed. Well, Jesus always taught his disciples and those who were following him through and by what we call parables. Now, a parable is an earthly story that has a heavenly meaning. And in light of that, Jesus was trying to share with his disciples and share with all of those the nuggets and the truths that you can find about the kingdom. So he uses this illustration. He tells the story and gives the parable of about this large crowd, that a farmer went out to plant his seeds. And as he scattered his seed across the field, he said that some of the seed fell on the footpath, and it was stepped upon, and the birds ate it. The other seed fell among rocks. It began to grow, but soon it withered and dried because of lack of moisture. Then he says there were seeds that fell among the thorns. They grew up, and the thorns choked it out. And still, he said, there were some seeds that fell on fertile ground, and it grew and produced a crop in hundreds of thousands, and it fed so many, and it was such a blessing. And Jesus tells them, anybody understand what I'm saying? You hear with your ears, but do you understand what I'm saying? He uses this parable to teach us that the farmer represents us. As we go out sharing the word of God, we always have to be mindful where we plant and how we sow the seeds. In their day, it says that the farmer was just scattering seeds. He was throwing them out. You and I, sometimes we have to remind ourselves that when the word of God does not find the right place, when it falls on the footpath, others will walk all over it. Others will find themselves not being able to benefit from it because someone has not handled it properly. Then he says, the birds of the air, they came by. So there was some benefit from it. Then it says the other seeds fell upon the rocks. When they fall upon the rocks, they'll fall down between the cracks. It'll begin to grow, but it won't grow very tall, nor will it last long, because it's not ideal. Too oftentimes we try to meet people when they're not in an ideal situation. And too oftentimes we should just ask the Lord, when is it the right time to share the good news of the gospel? We have to remember that this kind of environment that he talks about, it represents people in their lives. Sometimes people are just not ready for the word. Sometimes we forget that we should pray and do everything through and by prayer. And when God gives us the insightful words, when he gives us the moment and the time to share the word of God with someone, that's when it happens. He said some of it just fell by the wayside. And we know even when things fall by the wayside, God has a way of doing something with it. Talks about how sometimes the cares of this life will choke up the word of God because people get so engrossed in the things that are happening around them that they forget the real purpose and the meaning behind it. And he goes through the analogy of how the seeds are scattered and how they fall in different places. But, we always have to ask ourselves, where is this person in their pilgrimage, in their journey? Is this the right time to share the seed? Is this the right time to share the word? And then hopefully you and I will be sensitive enough to know that it can be like the latter situation. It says that he scattered the seed, and the seed fell upon fertile soil. It took root, it grew, it multiplied, and it produced so much more than I never would have imagined. And so that's the way the word of God can be in many of our lives. Once it takes root, it grows, and we become the beneficiaries of the goodness of God shared with us, and we share with others. So today, I hope the Word of God will find a place in our hearts, that we will allow it to grow, that it will have a good root system. It will be watered, it will be nurtured, and others will see the benefits, and they will find themselves being blessed because we've been blessed to hear and know the good news of the gospel that God gives to us all. I hope you know that in this year of 2022, God has great blessings in store for you because you are exceedingly and abundantly blessed. And we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow at in-person worship at the Fountain at 9:00 a.m. God bless you. Heaven smile upon you. Have a great weekend.
To sow a seed to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, visit our newly redesigned website, thefountainofraleigh.org, and select Sow a Seed from the homepage. Also, giving has been made easier with the new Fountain of Raleigh app, available now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download today, select Giving from the main menu, and then follow the directions to complete your giving through Subsplash.
Thank you so very much for all of your gifts and donations that you've given to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship. We thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and what you will do in the future. Your gifts and donations helps us to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only locally, but throughout the world. Thank you again for your gifts, and may God continue to richly bless you. It is here at the Fountain that we believe that we are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and may you receive those blessings that God has in store for you.